recording there in the...
Yeah, you're on now.
Yeah, so Anders, this is really important. I want you to take a picture of us. Because while we're recording, it's really important. Wave to everyone.
Hi, Teresa Larson's Instagram following.
Welcome to the My New Normal podcast. I am on with my good friend, Anders Varner. Welcome,
I'm like
Anders.
waving as if everybody listening on a podcast can see me wave.
Well, they'll be able to see you, actually.
Yeah.
Because we'll make sure we make sure that your waving is seen. So normally we would be talking like this just miles away from each other, but you are now where?
I am on the Easy Coast. I was on the Best Coast. Now I'm on the Easy Coast.
Easy Coast.
Raleigh, North Carolina. That's not actually 100% true. I'm in Cary.
Cary, okay.
Like where people with kids live.
Yeah, nice. I like it. Well, my uncle would say, he's like, you're on the right coast. If you're looking at it, like you're on the right coast. He's always like, are you on the left coast? We're doing just fine, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to have you on this podcast because you are a big part of coining the name with me, which we're going to get into. But I like to always share how I met the guests, and you're a special person in my life, so I want to tell the listeners how we met. Because while this whole thing is about adaptive titans, we all are adaptive. Some of us have adapted in ways of overcoming permanent injury and finding our life again, and some people have done it through major changes in their life and have kind of accepted these new normals and adaptations along the way. But we're all on that spectrum of being adaptive. So how I met Anders, well, a good friend of ours, Jessica Locke, who was our acupuncturist. She's an amazing woman, very wise woman, put me in touch with Anders when he was running the gym, San Diego Athletics, or CrossFit TV. And I, at the time, was working with Movement RX and looking for great gyms and communities to be a part of, because that was our model, mobile model, find gyms and communities, build our culture with them. And especially gyms that are like, feel like having a physical therapist who understands movement is important in their culture. And you and your business partner at the time, Brian, did, which we really appreciated. And you guys were so energetic, very competitive. First time I ran into John Cena, I remember. That was a good time. I was like, who's that large human in your corner of your gym?
Yeah.
So it was good, really great memories, and met some wonderful people in your culture that you created, Anders. And when I was working there, I mean, of course, you always knew it. Anders is in the gym. If you guys, I mean, we'll tell you where you can find Anders if you don't know where already, but he was the loudest person in the gym. If I was working in the private room upstairs, which is the surf room, I knew Anders was present because of his voice. And we just really hit it off, I think, on an intellectual level as well as an energetic level, and wanted to bring our worlds together to help people. So we started an online company called Your Movement RX, which ended up being an amazing bridge to what we both are doing now. And I think that's been something that the process of coming to understand that and the beauty of what we created and what it brought us to be doing now is really powerful, and actually something that we're going to get into today. Because what Anders is doing now is remarkable, and the things that Movement RX gets to do now is really exciting in the world of military medicine, the corporate world, which can be so freaking just mundanely boring, where the energy gets just sapped out of you over time. Yeah. So it's pretty exciting what Your Movement RX has become with the people that started it. And while we no longer work together with the online company, we're able to affect people in ways that we never thought possible. So without further ado, Anders, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. And can you just tell us a little bit about where you're from, your background in sports, and a little bit about your coaching with the adaptive individuals, those that are on the far end of the spectrum, because that's one way we got to work together.
Yeah. So I guess, I live on the East Coast now. I've been pretty much a rambling man since I was 14 years old. I started training like in the gym when I was 13 to play ice hockey, in which in order to find out how good I could be at the sport I'd been playing since I was 3, I had to leave home. So I left home at 14 to go to boarding school in Massachusetts, which was its own experience, probably that at the time I had no clue, but it's probably like the defining moment of my life and how I live now. And I mean, I could probably talk for hours on just like, I guess that transition of like leaving home and then really the growing up process that had to go on of me creating the life that I wanted to live there, because I didn't have parents to fall back on and be my safety net. Turned out that I was like 5'8" and 185 pounds, and that's just not getting it done to go play college sports. So went to James Madison, where I was training pretty just not, I was in the gym, but it was nothing spectacular. I was very distracted, you could call it, by college, and not the education side of it, until I met who later turned out to be my first business partner, Brian. We were roommates my senior year, and once I met him, he was just like miles ahead of me in the education and nutrition and training protocols, and like he was super dialed in, much like you, into Bill Phillips' body transformation stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And
Bill Phillips.
Yeah, like that training program really caught a lot of people and provided a lot of education. They were one of the first companies that had like a message board that you could get into and talk training with people when the internet barely existed. So when I met him, it was just like my world just expanded like immensely into understanding what was going on in the gym. And now I had somebody that really inspired me to care about the gym in a completely different way. Graduated college, and a year after college, like CrossFit happened. And that was like a 12-year journey in life where I really was, I had been training since I was 13. I found CrossFit at 23. So most people they don't think about working out until they're out, and then they like try and lose weight or try and be healthy. Well, I had already put in a decade of trying to be very strong. And like, I remember like people used to talk about like, oh, do you like do leg day? And be like, do you wake up and brush your teeth in the morning? Like, who are you? Like the things that were so common to me were just not part of I don't even know if we had really like a healthy, if we have an unhealthy culture or education about working out now. 15 years ago, there was no internet, so it was impossible. You had to really work hard to find information on how to live a healthy life. So
Body for Life, that's where I got my training.
That was like T-Nation, bodybuilding.com. But if you didn't know like the 3 to 5 resources that actually existed, then you didn't do anything. So I was really lucky that I found Brian. I was in bodybuilding.com every day reading T-Nation. Those were really like the big resources. When CrossFit hit, it was kind of like the 4th, 5th resource. Jim Jones was putting stuff out, but like CrossFit hit, and I had a reason to play sports again. That I almost opened a gym like the year after I found CrossFit, but I ended up going to grad school. There's always girls involved in stories like this. There was a girl involved, so I followed her to grad school. And then we ended up breaking up. And what all lost boys do, I moved to Pacific Beach, California, chasing waves and women, and realized that like I was actually like in it sounds probably really cool, but it was actually like a really, really depressing time in my life where I'd been dating a girl for 3.5 years, assumed we were going to get married and do everything. And one day I just woke up and I was like in a place that I was unhappy in South Carolina. I had really nobody in my life around me that was like living the life that I did. I was drinking. I'm pretty good at partying if you need me to be, especially back in the day. I was just not headed in a place that I wanted to be. And I got to California, and it was literally like I spent probably the first 3 or 4 weekends in the same cycle of waking up, doing a job that I didn't care about, waiting for the weekend to show up, and then I'd party. And then Monday would hit again. And I just always knew, literally, like the moment I found CrossFit, I knew that I was going to open a gym, but never really pulled the trigger. And then it just, there was this building that had a for lease sign on it. And I drained my 401k. I was working from like 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single night, getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep for like 9-10 months. We opened the gym with $62,000, half of which went to equipment. And actually, we had to pay like 2 or 3 months on a deposit just because we had no credit. We had nothing.
How old are you?
I was 27.
Okay.
And it was just a super grind. But I think this is something that's like the biggest, one of the larger, like I had $0. I was making roughly, if we had it, like 9-10 months after opening the gym. I was working 2 jobs full time, the gym being one, and then the job that didn't know that I opened a gym. I was working remotely. But I was waking up, so my job was on the East Coast and I was on the West Coast, and I would wake up at 5 and send a couple emails because that was like 8 o'clock their time. So they would think that I was checked into my office or checked into work, and then I would run the gym for a couple hours, train people. I would take conference calls during classes. Like it was a super, super grind. But 9-10 months later, I was able to pay myself and Brian, I think our first salary, like first paycheck was like $2,800, $3,000. Like in PB, that is not enough to live, but it was enough for us to quit our jobs and live to the caliber of living that we were doing. But yeah, over those years, it was amazing. I mean, I learned everything. Competed at the CrossFit Regional 4 times. We put 70-something athletes into the regionals, a couple in the games. Trained with some really, really cool people. I learned that you could like create a life for yourself. And one of those things. Yeah.
I was going to say so you hit on a point so in corporate America, clearly it's like, it's very common to live for the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And it's very depressing when you find yourself like waiting for Friday to be done.
Yeah.
You can go drink your face off or do whatever you do on the weekend.
Yeah.
I've been there. But then you found the gym, and even though you were making less, you found I would imagine like some life in your days, like Monday through Friday was fun again.
Well, yeah, money is like a super fun thing, right? Like, people think that having more of it, which does create like a lot of freedom and things that you can do. But in the end, there's been many, many, many times in my life where I've been significantly happier when I was making $3,000 a month, sleeping on a mattress on the floor, knowing that I was a part of something that was going to be very special. And you just can't like create. People are, and maybe this isn't universal, but I have found that most people are at their happiest moments when it has nothing to do with money or external things, but like they're just working so hard to create momentum in a direction that they're truly passionate about. And that's what was going on. And that's why I was able to sleep 4 or 5 hours a night and wake up and run classes all day and have another job. And like it didn't bother me at all. I always think like, oh, I couldn't go back and do that now, but I could if it was something that I felt passionate about, of like, this is the future of my life. And luckily I just don't have to do it right now because I've kept that same fire going in the same direction for what is going on a decade now. And but yeah, meeting you were a part of that awesome journey. We vibed super hard. Like the gym just was such a cool spot until it wasn't. And then that was when the first time I really started working with, we had a kid have a stroke in the gym.
Right.
That was
I remember,
really life-changing stuff, because I went to the hospital with him that night. And I was like, man, we should just start training again, because I don't really know how to do anything else. So let's
You pretty much helped him get back to 100%.
Yeah, he was able to play golf like 3 months later, which was really awesome. There was a lot of things that happened in that time of me. I was in like a really interesting place of learning about the brain and the body and how it's wired, and like just kind of like how our brain maps movement. And I was doing a ton of, it's almost like it happened at the right time in my life. Not that you ever want anybody to go through that, but for some reason I just felt confident that I could help him.
Yeah.
And that was like my intro into it, which then got me interested in it. And then we had some really cool opportunities to coach the Wolfpack basketball team. And I don't know, it's my ability to train anybody from the Wolfpack team to work out and train with like professional athletes that are household names is just an, I don't know, it's the breadth of capacity to be able to make this single thing that is the center of my life better for everybody, so they're more inspired to do it, is really like why I wake up in the morning.
So I find that really powerful, and that's one of the reasons why I found working with you great, but also working with you with the adaptive community, because that's not always the case with people. It's very common to, see someone with these severe disabilities or this thing that happened that you really don't understand completely. But then they're afraid of it. People are afraid of it. They don't want to hurt someone more. Whereas you kind of take the bull by the horns and like, all right, let's figure it out. Whether you're, JC in the gym, or you're an athlete that just had a stroke, or someone in a wheelchair, you're going to treat them the same. Like you actually do that. And I think that's a very powerful thing as a coach, and any coach listening, or any coach listening or health professional. It's like you should be able to work with the range of athletes, range of humans, right? We're all adaptive. So whether you're someone with legs that can crush weights, or someone in a wheelchair that's learning how to get strong in their arms, like if you want to be a good coach, you should be able to work with both. It doesn't mean you have to like apply your life to working with just one area, with, adaptive humans or the highly competitive, but you should be able to work with any human, because human movement is universal. So,
I think a lot of people just really have to get out. Like, it takes a long time. You have to be a coach for a long time.
Yeah.
You have to put in your reps. And once you start to realize that, like you can go read a textbook, and a lot of coaches do this just because they haven't put in the reps, where it's like it teaches you how to deadlift.
Yeah.
So it's like you feel like you've read that book and you know what it says, and you're ready to go implement it. And then when you see somebody do it different, you're like, that's wrong. Okay, well, I've coached thousands of athletes, and none of them really do it by the book. Like, nobody is a skeleton with perfect femurs. And there he is. And nobody is the textbook. So why, you have to be more fluid, get out of that rigid way of thinking, and dude, people just want to have fun in their lives. The more you can make training not about training and just about playing, then everybody will do it. And being so rigid's a brutal way to go through anything.
Right. No, I think you're right on. It's so easy to get a fitness certification these days. So it's like, really, as a coach, like there's no adaptive, there really isn't, until CrossFit came around, and then some of the work I've done with Mobility One and on my own, there's really no adaptive training courses. It's like, you just got to figure it out, go to school, learn, ask people, actually listen to your athletes.
Yeah.
What do you know? Principles of movement. So anyway, I think that's a powerful way to be. So I hope any coach coach listening will take that advice and just spend
Go
time.
have fun.
Yes, and have fun. And that is true. Like whether we're providing, I mean, we've learned that providing rehab programs in companies or working with the military or just the one-on-one, it's like people want to know you care, but also want to have fun. So you can make rehab fun. At least we
Yeah.
can. So, okay, well, I thank you for that. You've had quite the past and the experience and all these changes, but you're on a path of finding ways to impact as many people as possible, and you're continuously on that path. So it's going to be exciting when we divulge into what you're doing now. But there's an icebreaker that now that we're in some of these, we're kind of in the flow. I'm going to wait for this icebreaker at the end as a way to transition to the goodbye. So we'll wait. But you are also, so you're on this path. You work to the Adaptive Athletes. You own and sold this gym, an online company. You also are now the host of Barbell Shrugged. And going back, like one of our things that we would do is go to the Barbell Shrugged breakfast and just freaking drink so much coffee. And here you are now getting to run the show with Doug. And you also are a parent. Like you are a dad of a little girl. So I think that's, sometimes I forget, I'm like, yeah, I'm a parent. Oh my God, there's a little human in my house.
Somebody
Somebody
there's somebody relying on you. Yeah.
So I think that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, life has changed a lot. I guess it's always changing a lot, but yeah, I have simplified my life. The more complex everything gets, you just have to try and keep it all together somehow. Trying to remember what a good husband's supposed to be, hopefully try to be a good dad, and then running a good business is its own task in itself. So it's very, very, there's a lot of things, but I don't know, I feel like if there's a skill that there's probably a lot of skills, but something that I think that I've just gotten good at over the years is like, this is just where I'm at.
Yeah.
As your show is titled, this is the normal, my new normal of where I am today. So
this is a perfect segue into this next question, Anders.
There it is. See how we do that?
This is perfect. So when I was trying to come up with this title of this podcast, and I think it was initially Adapt, which was, even you alluded to the fact that it's like going to pinhole you into one, piece. But this concept of my new normal was something you brought up, and something you brought up that I said a lot, and I didn't even, it's like my blind spot. Like I just did it, and I'm trying to explain how someone learns to accept, essentially. That's what my new normal is. Like, this is where you're at now. So be the best where you're at now. You don't have legs, so use your body the best you can. So I want to know what my new normal means to you. Like, what's just that whole concept? Because it's come up for you a lot too, and watch and see. And then where in your life would you say was the most challenging new normal that you had to go through?
Right now, well, I don't, all of my time, and I only have three things. I have business, I have dad, and I have husband. And, I joke about it, and we've joked about it. Like, I'm currently not accepting new friendships. And I think a lot of people are, like, if I said that to a lot of people, they would think I was a jerk, or that, like, I wasn't like a friendly person. But it's so far from the truth. It's just, I don't currently have the bandwidth to invest in other people's time that aren't part of the center, like, of the core that makes me tick right now. And if I have time, I want to spend it with my family. And if I've got like work itself it's a full entity of life. Like I am responsible for paying other people to have a family. That's insane responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think the word entrepreneur in like 2019 is just such a disastrous thing. Like everyone thinks you're like an Encinitas, like in your life coach and you just hang out at coffee shops.
Yes.
And those people probably are living a beautiful life. But you know how many employees they have? Zero. Do you know how many like dollars they need to bring in their life? Not that many. They're not worried about other people's children eating. And if you really like want to own a business, you better show up. Like I'm up at 5 a.m. every day because I need to get at least an hour and a half work done in quiet, because at 7 when she wakes up, I no longer own that time.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't own my whole day anymore. And I used to be good at saying like, sorry, Ashton, like I have to work, you're second. But that doesn't exist anymore. Like I have to be a dad, I have to be a husband. And I've learned that I have to put those things ahead of work at times, which, you know, like it's there's a balance. So instead of like, I just don't have the ability to go and begin to give my time and energy to other people that I don't really know if the thing's going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
Like how hard is it to go find somebody that you actually want to be friends with? It's not that I don't want new friends. It's like I don't want to put the time into seeing if you make the cut.
Right.
And if it
I would say
happens organically, then cool. But I'm not actively searching for friends. And that's weird because I just moved to a place where I don't know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So like people would think you would want to build a network. My network is plenty big. I don't need a new one.
Yeah.
And it's what I really want to do is focus on what's the most important. And that's where it's at. As far as like the most new normal I've had, I mean, I feel like I just am my whole, like the first one, leaving home, that's insane. I remember having to,
14. Yeah.
yeah, now that I have a daughter, 14 years is just seems like a baby. Yeah, like I remember 6 months in, after being like literally homesick every single night, and my parents just being like, hey, we got to make a decision if you're going to be going back for your sophomore year. And it kind of kicking in of like, oh, like I have to grow up. Like I'm no longer allowed to be homesick. Like I have to figure out how to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
I have to figure out how to make this an enjoyable experience. And that really set the course for putting myself out there and becoming confident in like who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and that I have something to offer,
Yeah.
which then I think really allowed me to trust myself when opening the gym, because that was really, really crazy. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
never having an experience. If anybody has ever opened their first business, it's terrifying and empowering, and you're on the hook. You
Yeah.
own every ounce of the result of that. Selling the gym, breaking up with CrossFit, that was an insane experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like really trusting my gut that what I was doing was the right thing, because you could sit there and collect money and run your personal training business and live a great life at the beach, but I
It wasn't
don't know
you.
if that's who I'm supposed to be. I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to take that route in life. Starting the business with you, like I was super deep into the rehab world because my body was super broken. I was training a lot of people that are dealing with injuries, and I kind of at the gym become like a source for people that were jacked up and needed to get healthy. So learning online businesses and getting into Your Movement RX was phenomenal. Also crazy transition. And then, you know, anybody that's listening, like we were in business together, we were committed to each other, and then that ended. That's never like an easy experience for anybody. And really having like the deep trust that, yeah, this shit's really, really hard, but like it in the end, it's the best thing that we all need to be doing for a host of reasons. Yeah. And then now running Shrugged Collective and Barbell Shrugged, and like being like the visionary CEO dude, like my new normal right now is like, I am one of those people that is, I don't know, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be the most impactful voice in strength and conditioning. And my whole life has led me to this point. We met Doug and Mike because we were trying to learn how to run an online company. And I was super interested in the media side of things. And we just went up there to go learn and be around them to see what they did and pick up little nuggets. And next thing you know, like it all just kind of unfolded in a way in which life changed a lot. Like you stop hoping to work with people, and you start having to become very selective of who you work with. And that's a really gigantic leap of feeling like you belong, having the confidence that you belong, and that your voice is meant to be very impactful.
Yeah. I think all of what you said, it's your life and a lot of new normals there. I mean, and it's only scratched the surface, because I know, Anders, what you're saying is all the, the iceberg full, that whole metaphor, like you're sharing just a piece of it, but all the emotion and experience and building and ups and downs of working with humans is in that. And you've chosen to take that leap ever since you basically left right out of college. Like, you chose to take that leap. And I had an interview with Joe DeSena, and we were talking about, it was kind of funny, because we were talking about just like entrepreneurs and running your own business. And he's like, yeah, it's like getting punched in the stomach over and over. Or, I mean, it's you have to have a strong gut to do it. And I think it's nice to collaborate with people who are doing it, because sometimes when you share your experience with someone who maybe isn't, it's like, well, what could be so hard about it? I mean, so it goes back to, it's important to be mindful of who you spend your time with, because there is, as a parent too, I mean, it is like, you remember how it is when I had Magnus. I remember just like trying to do a freaking Facebook Live, and with a newborn, it was like, okay, sorry everyone, he's having a meltdown. I'm just gonna breastfeed while I'm trying to tell you about low back issues.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're in it, and it was oh man, there's just a lot of challenges, ups and downs that come with making that decision to go after, like, you didn't know you're going to be the CEO of Barbell Shrugged, but you knew that you have a passion for helping people in masses and the power of media. You've known that for a long time. And it's not like you have a master's in, freaking social media or like the power of media, but you created that opportunity. And just through what business is about, meeting people, building relationships, finding people that you resonate with, that build you up. It's like you are a product of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So those 5 people better be people that are on a similar trajectory or challenge you to be better.
Yeah.
And so I can very much in my own life relate to your path. And man, I mean, Movement Arcs was my first company I ever started, so it was super scary. It was like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be running this. I'm supposed to be working in a regular PT practice for 5 years before I start my own. But I couldn't last more than 6 months. And then, oh, by the way, like, I'm just I'm bringing in a freaking table to a CrossFit gym and hoping people show up. And of course, I can't just hope people show up, because I actually have to go teach and use my voice. People. And then, but what I found super powerful through like my journey of business is like asking. I'm not I'm afraid of a lot of things actually, and like I've feared failure at times. I feared loss. Those things have held me back, and I've learned where I do that. I've over my journey, but like I asked Kelly, like, hey, how'd you get to where you are? Asking Mike and Doug, like, how did you build your online platform? Because at the time I was launching my book, and lo and behold, I needed a website and a social media channel, and I was like,
Yeah.
So it's like, if you ask, like, you be prepared to get an answer, and it might not be an answer you expect, or it might be something beyond what you ever thought possible.
Yeah.
So, but when you surround yourself with people like that, who constantly are asking and shooting for higher and with the intent to help more people,
yeah,
you're gonna come out on top.
Yeah, I think that asking, like, is that you talk about like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much work that goes into not just the confidence of being able to do that, but to being in the room with the people to be able to even pose the questions that you're interested in. Like, you had to have done the work to be able to write the book. And then that's why you get the answer. It's not because you ask the question. If you don't provide value, or the people that are around you don't see you as like working your butt off to create something amazing, you're not going to get the help. So you can't just go ask the question. It's about doing the work. And I think that that's something that's really, really lost on people. Like, they don't understand when you talk about like, oh, what could be so hard about like being an entrepreneur? Like, you have no idea how much of it's not. Writing a training program is easy, but if it defines your life, now it's hard.
Yeah.
And if it defines the fact that your kids have to eat because of it, now it's hard. And if you have other people involved in the steps, okay, now you have to get them to buy into your soul, and how hard it is to get other people to buy into that. And now the further away we get, employees have people underneath them, and whatever it is, like that is the hardest thing in the world. It's not the training program that you're selling. It's the, why are you doing this, and getting everybody around you bought in and excited about this thing that means so much to you. And then when it doesn't work, because it's not going to work, you have to look back and you go, well, why is everybody else? It's not everybody else.
Right.
They weren't the problem. The problem was you had chinks in your personality. You had a problem with the way that you dealt with problems. You rubbed them the wrong way, which made them less motivated to work for you. It's all comes back on you. So if you don't have that resilience, and you don't have that ability to like wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow and get back at it and get better, you're not going to do it. Like, business is the sport that adults play when we realize we can't play sports anymore.
So,
and you're not going to get better at your sport unless you just go do it and practice and put the work in. And there's only one way to do it, and it's work.
Yeah. Well, I think that you also hit on something that I think intellectually I knew, and I'll be completely candid, and everyone on this podcast listening, like, this is, a deep dive kind of conversation in a lot of them that we've had, but like, being able to take ownership of your life means everything that happens to you is you should own that. It's no one else's fault. And I think that intellectually I knew that, but in my heart I didn't believe that. And it was, I think, a default for me for a while is, well, no, that person just doesn't cut it, or no, that doesn't, whatever it was. It wasn't me taking full ownership. And when I learned that about myself, and I was like, no, Teresa, it's how you react to all these things that matter. And you know what? Like, there's so much beauty in what the struggles that you can have in business and relationships. Like, you can learn a lot. You can realize, well, that individual or that situation just wasn't as life-giving anymore, and you have to move past it. But it's all you can look at is yourself in it. And
Yeah.
also looking at experience, so looking at our work relationship, which was super powerful. Like, I think of our business that we built as the training ground bridge for what we're doing now. But that wasn't always my thought. However, when I started to look at it through like the eyes of what's it like for Pear? What was it like for you? Not that I'm in your body or mind, but like being able to realize like we're all emotional beings and we all have hopes and dreams, and like, but what we hope and dream, this is just a starting point, or it's a piece of the puzzle. It's a piece of our life, and it's taking us places that where we're going next. And while the journey was awesome, it's also uncomfortable at times, which is okay. That's part of being a freaking entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But it's been really powerful for me to finally, through some of the work I've done, like take a look at myself and be like, Teresa, no, it's your reaction. You can change your reaction. And by that means you can change the way that story is played. And therefore that relationship doesn't have to go away. It's here in front of you, but it's your choice.
Yeah.
No one else's fault. And also, the more I empathize with other people, the more I'm like, okay, yeah, I get how you see that. I might not agree, but I get it. And I think with the adaptive community in particular, there's an element of people, adaptive or not, when people get injured, it's like they get stuck in the system of, well, my doctor said this, and I've been taking this, and I was told to rest, and I just don't know what to do, so I'm doing nothing. And in a way, I can empathize because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
But then it's up to me to tell them, no, take that power back. You have the ability. And I feel like I've gotten really good at doing that for others. And then I realized, wait a second, like I need to do that for me. Take the power back. Like when you're talking about being in these conversations, I'm present, but sometimes I didn't feel very powerful in the conversations. Like I deserve to be here. Well, of course I do, but I have to believe that. And it's been a pretty empowering process. And you're someone I've seen your growth. And this is actually leads us into the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is your voice. Segue, which is your voice. And the power of voice. Like you always talked about that when we worked together, like use your voice, and your voice is, what you have to say is important. And we did Toastmasters together to figure out how to use our voice. And I ran into one of the ladies at our Toastmaster the other day who's the grammarian. She was older. She was just like super strict on all the ums and likes. I'm sure she'd love picking apart this podcast actually. Because whoever does the guy that does my videos, he's like word for word. I'm like, you don't have to put all the likes in there, but
don't do that.
But anyway, like Toastmasters was like a part of our journey of owning voice. So since Toastmasters, Anders, what is it like for you to see how your voice has impacted others?
Well, it's strange. It's really strange now. I always knew that was like my thing. Toastmasters was really good at cleaning it up because the gym life is not really like the business life. Like you don't want to walk. I actually notice it more when I'm on the show. When I'm on Barbell Shrugged, I'm pretty good. But when I get really fired up, when I'm on other people's shows and F-bombs start flying out, and then I listen back and I'm like, oh my gosh, is that the best word you have in there? Like, is that really the thing? But I learned about how my voice impacts people in the gym a lot. Like that was the big spot for me. Just my ability to get people motivated and be excited about what was going on. All that, like, I don't know. I've always just been like the loud kid, but it's not like just loud for being loud. It's loud because I'm so stoked on life, and I want people to be stoked on life. Like you're in this gym and, this is so rad. You live in Pacific Beach and we get to go train in like a very global macro level, you literally have no problems.
Right.
Like, you're living in the greatest place in the world. You're surrounded by beautiful people. The average age is 26 years old, and you're living in a gorgeous house within 2 miles of the most beautiful beach that exists. And you're working out. You go to a lot of places that, like, they don't even have gyms, right? Like,
Right.
it's a function of life to have to go work.
Right.
And you're here. This
Yeah.
is so radical. Like, my entire life is I'm the lucky one. I'm the one that decided that I was only going to be around people that I wanted to be around and do things that I wanted to do. And not just things that I wanted to do, but things that come from like a really deep place with me of
Yeah.
just, I love this. I love being in the gym. I love the people around me. Like, I don't like what I do. I genuinely love it.
Yeah.
And how could I not want to infect everybody with that? Like, those people showed up to the gym and they paid for me to be there. So I made a life out of it. I lived at the beach. I drove a golf cart for 4 years. I went to 4 places. I went from my house to the gym, to the beach, to the grocery store in a golf cart. I never have to leave. How in the world would I couldn't be more in love with my life and everything that was going on. And I was listening to Rogan, and he had Kevin Hart on, and he was talking about like everybody walks around and it's like, you should, like, what makes you happy? And he's like, I know what happy is. Like, I know what that feels like. And I got it. I was like, I know what happy is too.
Yeah.
Like, I know the feeling of happy. I know the feeling that, like, momentum brings you. And when you're serving people around you, and there's a tangible thing that happens inside you when you're happy. Like, it's you can feel it. And if you don't spread that and give it to other people to help them be happier, you're not using your voice. And that's like the biggest thing. Like, I'm, as an industry expert, like, I don't really think that I'm that great at most things, but I love my life and I love being in the gym, and I want everyone to love it just like a little bit as much as I do. Because if you did that, you would be so much healthier and happier and stronger, and like, everything in your life would be better if you showed up and you were just like as stoked to be there as I am. Every day. Like, every day I get so fired up, because here's the problem. If you don't do it every single day, the day that you don't do it is the day you're going to meet the person that you really should have been fired up in front of. Like, that is so real. I could have been having like the worst day ever when John Cena walked into my life. But no, every day is great. I don't have bad days. I have days that are harder. But I don't have bad days. I'm stoked. I chose everything that got me to that hard day. Like, bad days don't exist. I'm doing exactly what where I'm supposed to be. If I thought it was going to be easy, I wouldn't have chosen this.
Yeah. So
and
you're making you bring up a great point. Like, happiness is a state of being. People can choose to be happy.
Yeah, and like, I heard an awesome quote. I was from Aaron Hine. It was like, broke is like a state of being, but poor is a state of mind. And it's the same way with like being like, rich is a state of being, but like wealthy is a state of mind. Like, you're just in this beautiful place where everything just flows. It's happy, and doesn't mean that it's not hard. Like, it really is so hard, but it's a lot easier to do it if you're operating from a place of love and doing it with people that you love.
Yeah, I think that's also very powerful. Love is a state of being too. You can't really define it, right? You can be loving to everyone around you. And, Anders, like, you have, and to all the patients I ever worked with who went through PB, CrossFit PB, or San Diego Athletics now, or that that know you, that's what they bring up is your infectious personality. It's one of a kind. Like, it really is a personality that you don't forget. And one of the quotes my dad would say that I thought, I always have it banked in my mind. It's like, people will forget what you said to them, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And you always made people feel welcome and cared for, in your own way, but like infecting them with your stoke on life.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
I think that all that's good. And, when people are, so many people out there searching for a change, searching for happiness, like can't really get out of their own way. And you know what? I've been there in my own way too at times. And I realized, like, no, you know what? All we got, this is something that really, all we have is right now. Life is like now. And like the future is like a possibility, right? We don't know if tomorrow we have tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the past is the past. Like some of us, you can make any story up about your past. You can make it a good past or you can make it a bad past. It's up to you. But what you have is now. So what do you want that now to look like? And so there's no searching anymore. It's like, I am just happy, loving, and free now. And whatever it is that's getting in your way of being that, figure it out.
Yeah.
Just figure it out. Do the hard work to figure it out.
Well, that's the part that I have a lot of disconnect with a lot of people and it's really, really hard for people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have 3 kids, and like, what are you going to do to tell the mom that it may be a single mom that has a job she doesn't really like, and she's got 2, 3 kids at home, and like, you should go start your own business of things that you love.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Right.
It's not fair at all. Like, there's a lot of parts of my life that in a way I struggle with because I did it when I could have lost everything and nobody would have noticed.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have affected anybody. I would have owed a couple people some money, but they were all related to me, so who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of times that, you don't control some of it. And that gets into a really big philosophical conversation that I'm a lot of times really uncomfortable talking about. But I am super aware also that I took the risk and I took the jump or the leap and did it. And it catapulted everything else. In the first 2 years of it, and every year, the first 2 years were incredibly hard. And every year after that was really, really hard too.
Yeah.
Like trying to grow something, trying to make it better all the time.
Yeah.
And it's in infinite ways. There's infinite possibilities and all of them work. It's just finding the one that's the most right for you and the most authentic to the way that you want to affect people. And that's really, really, really challenging.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very authentic way to be, Anders. Like you're owning up to what we can't control everything, but we can control our reaction, to it. And I found with people we make choices and there are consequences to those choices. However, whether you're a mom with 3 kids or there is a mindset of kind of acceptable stuff. There's like acceptance of suffering. It's like, oh, this is what my life is going to be, so I can't get out of it. And in a way, in this conversation, I hope anyone listening is like, no, there is a way, but it's not an easy way.
Yeah.
But if you want a fulfilling life and you want to really live, and that living means that you're going to impact your wife, your husband, your child, and everyone around you, then taking that leap is probably a good idea. Even if it's not starting your own business, it's just changing jobs, right? Or it's shifting directions. Because I know people who are in jobs they hate, they go home and they're bitter, right? And they drink or they do whatever they do, and the next day it's the same thing. And they want to change, but they don't. People know how to change. People know how to shift. They just don't because they're used to that kind of cycle.
Yeah.
Caught in
The
a cycle.
the change is super hard too. Like, I mean, just our situation was super hard. Leaving the gym, change sucks. Change sucks because you have to leave a lot of people around or a lot of people behind, and like the direction and the trajectory for everybody changes, and it's not easy. Like, I went through it with the gym first, and it's super hard. With our business, like, I had to go do this thing. There was like this weird calling, like it was happening to me right in front of all of us. And yeah, it's not easy. Change.
No.
I think that, like, I get a lot of questions now about like owning a gym or like starting a podcast or like being the host of Barbell Shrugged, and like it looks like this really bright shiny object, and I'm like, man, even if you look at Bledsoe, like it's not fun, but it's better than fun. It's way better than fun. Like, fun is like going to like the amusement park and riding the roller coaster. This thing is like soul work, and it's really, really hard when you put that much into it, because you have to change. You have to change everything about the way you think, everything about who you are, how you talk to people.
Yeah.
Like, I've hung out with you and smashed ice cream in large quantities, and you're the most fun person ever. But like, when you're standing on stage at like TEDx, you're not trying to be fun. Like, it's not Teresa Larson fun ice cream girl. It's impactful. Like this figure of strength and resilience, and that's hard. That's hard work to stand in front of those people and say, this is my story. It's not easy being up here, but if you face all of it and you truly put the work in, one day maybe you could stand up here. But there's no guaranteed path. You just have to keep going.
Well, I think that's thank you, Anders. And very powerful. I have to say, because I know we want to wrap this up. We're really good about keeping this new normal thing to an hour for the most part. But I think that, the whole the journey of building what we built and building Movement RX has really helped me come into my own, and I value so much you in being the muscle. I told you this on the Barbell Shrugged, like, of helping, literally the strength behind getting it started. And we wouldn't be in the positions we are without the work we put in together. And I didn't know that the corporate world or the military even, or federal business games that we're playing is like, would be something I'd be ever interested in.
Yeah.
But had we not created this thing that we're like, let's just do it. Let's make it a business, like, look what we got. And so while we don't get to work together every day anymore, smash ice cream all the time, it's really awesome to be able to watch your growth from a place of like being a friend and loving you. And like, you are someone, and everyone listening, Anders is someone that I like, he's seen a lot of my humanity, and and it's like this path to being stoked on life, or this being stoked on life in the present and being loving, is something that him and I have talked about a lot, and you and I have shared a lot of our ups and downs, and that, like, having someone in your life like that is super powerful, because it's not an I've arrived kind of thing. And you can hear it in your message, like, you haven't arrived. You're just like, dude, people think it's great, but it's hard. And it's better than fun. It's fulfilling, and it sets your soul on fire. And I feel the same way. Like smiling here, I'm just like, yeah, I want to go teach a bunch of Army recruits how to freaking squat, because what they're learning right now is BS.
Yeah.
But it's what sets my soul on fire too. And the coming to realize that, and with all the ups and downs, and whether it's an up or a down now, or a challenge with someone or not, like, it's the path I've chosen. And it's a hard path, but I'm accepting the hard path. And you are a great example of what just putting one foot in front of the other, and not striving for the next milestone or next achievement, but actually like being stoked on it right now on the journey. So you're a great example for all of us.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
I appreciate you, and I'm excited to share this episode with everyone. And I'd like to finish with one short question.
Uh-oh, here it is.
This is supposed to be the icebreaker, but see that you're a dad.
Yeah.
What is your favorite bedtime book with Addie?
Llama Llama.
Mama Llama, okay.
The Llama Llama series. I even call Ashton Mama Llama.
Mama Llama, I love it. Okay. We love, well, Pout Pout Fish, Magnus recites.
Yeah.
In that book, but we like Where Do Diggers Sleep at Night? All
nice.
the trucks have mommies and daddies.
Yeah.
Bed.
We haven't, well, we have a girl, so that we haven't really gone with the trucks yet.
I sent you guys a truck, and I think you guys should expose her to.
Hold on. Was it Little Blue Truck or?
Mighty Dads.
Oh, yeah. No, we haven't gotten into that one yet. I was started off with the Little Blue Truck, hardcore, but Llama Llama has taken over. We have 2 Llama Llamas now.
Nice.
It's on Netflix. How do they turn children's books into Netflix specials?
The children's books are pretty hilarious when you start to get into them. Like, some made me cry. Some of them made me.
Oh, yes. That's terrifying when you start crying. I have done that. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, settle down. This is for kids.
Yeah, they crack me up. So.
Yeah, there's one where the mom is talking to the daughter, and then she's like a kid, and then she's a teenager, and then the mom's like getting older on each page, and then she's like on her deathbed, basically, like in our couch, but like clearly very old. And I was like bawling, like 9 pages into this book. Like the letters are like 3 inches big. And I'm like, what is happening to me?
Yeah.
I'm a disaster.
I'm right there with you. I'm like, am I still hormonal from this or what?
Brutal.
Well, okay, so Llama Llama, we'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Llama Llama Red Pajama.
Where can people find you, Anders?
Every Wednesday and Saturday.
Okay.
On Barbell Shrugged, at Shrugged Collective, at Anders Varner, because I'm Anders Varner. And go to the onetonchallenge.com. By the time this comes out, we might have a real program out. Sweet. My first program that we're writing with me for the Shrugged Collective. So
that's awesome, Anders. High five. We'll put a link to it. Yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
We will sign off. Thank you, everyone.